On this episode of Just Informed Talk, the latest new Q post want us to ask, will the declassification of the FISA warrants show more illegal spying, not just on President Trump, but also on Ted Cruz? And will it show that this was taking place before President Trump even became the Republican nominee? That's what we're going to talk about and much, much more here on this episode of Just Informed Talk. I always like to start by saying thank you to everybody who's come here. Hit that big red subscribe button if you haven't already, because I need your help. You guys got to come do that, and also hit the like button if you guys like this content. That helps channel out big time. And here is where we are going to pick up right where we left off. The last post we covered in the last video is Q post 2913. We're picking up here at Q post 2914, and we got quite a bit to go through, so I'm going to get right into it. But first, I got to show you guys this. So, this is what's happening on YouTube, and I have to make this statement because it's just happening to every one of my videos. So now their newest trick on YouTube is they've tamped down my views. So they've probably cut my average views down by 50% or more with their new algorithms that they've deployed recently, where they're targeting people who basically are just truth tellers. They're discriminating, obviously. But look at what happens. I'm going to keep hitting refresh on this page. And do you see how the number stays the exact same? It's not 31,938, and it's been that for the last, I don't know, like 20 minutes or so, and it hasn't changed. And this is what I've been talking about, because it's so obvious. People are being unsubscribed from my channel without even knowing, and I keep getting messages about that. And now I got YouTube basically, they're putting my video in this dead zone where it just stops getting views altogether. It's like even gaining likes and as there's no views. And you're going to say, oh, well, it's not updated. Maybe it's a lag or something. It's not a lag. It's happening on all my videos. And the worst part is it's not a lag. And I can tell you how I know that, because I literally will keep pushing this button. And then eventually, after like who knows how long, hours, it'll just like kick back on like nothing happened. And it'll like add 10 views, and it'll just really trickle more views on top of that. But it's so obvious. And I'm just like sitting here going, what in the world can I possibly do against this big tech giant who's trying to suppress me, just some little guy, as if my influence is something that needs to be stopped. And it's not just me, it's everyone who talks about Q. All the channels that I follow and watch are experiencing the same thing across every channel that I've seen in every platform, Twitter, Facebook. It's happening across all. They're implementing this plan to silence us, and I just have to get that out there. That message is really important. So yeah, thanks for all your support and sticking around. And they're gonna try to do all these crazy things with the algorithms, but I mean, what else can I do? All I can do is point it out and say this is insane. And it's so obvious because I don't want to harp on this, but it's just so obvious because I've seen this start happening recently, and this has never happened to my channel ever before. But now it's like the videos just go into dead zones. They'll hit a number and or something will happen. Like for instance, Q started posting right before I started making this video, and all of a sudden it was just like dead zone. Like it was delisted and taken off because they don't want people to go watch this. So, it's so obvious. I just don't even know what to say. I just had to get that out there. I'm very upset, as you can tell, but we will persevere because I put my faith in God, and I can't control what other people do. And, yeah. Anyway, this is where we're going to pick up. If you guys haven't, come back here, watch these videos, because obviously they're not going to show them to you. You're going to have to come like hand find these at this point. They're not even going to come up in your suggested. And watch this video if you don't know what QAnon is, and all your support over here really helps. So I'm going to go through these pretty quick, hopefully, because we have a lot of them to cover. First one here is an older post from Q where it said, where we go and we go all, misspellings matter, sentence formation matters, learn Q. Now, this is something that Q is saying, emphasis on mistakes not corrected. Now, this was looking back at the Twitter post where we saw here this Twitter post from Donald Trump where he made this comment about it was time to start looking at the other side where real crimes were committed. And of course, this is that same quote from POTUS. And it says, time to reveal our insurance policy. Truth always wins, Q. And I think, it has something to do with time, possibly, the watch that we're seeing here on the Q boards, and it was a reference to that. And we'll see later. how that there was a zero delta again, meaning there was a tweet and this post at the same time, or one of these posts at the same time. We'll look back at that. It's right here. But the next one here is interesting. Here's the same tweet that we just looked at, the first part of it, where we talked about this in the last video. It said "Bye Crooked Hillary," like as in goodbye Crooked Hillary, and then it shows Hillary Clinton's actual Twitter page, and this is her like banner with this some kid or something, I don't know. But Q says basically to that, your Twitter banner is appropriate and fits you well, Q. And I'm going to leave that to your imagination because we've all known what's been going on. And the one thing that people have looked at is Haiti. Haiti has always been something that the Clinton Foundation was strongly involved in, especially after the earthquake. And there was billions of dollars that were sent and donated, and not much actually ended up happening, not to mention the connections with Laura Silsby and human trafficking. So you guys can go off and do the research on that if you want. It's just interesting to look at who was down there and what was happening with those kids. So anyway, the next one here is obviously this is talking like what we were just looking at is here. This was the post that Q's responding to, where it shows there's a zero delta, meaning both these posts, President Trump's tweet and Q's post, came in the exact same minute or within 1 minute of each other. So that's just more proofs of Q saying, here's a Q post and here's a President Trump tweet, and they are coming at the same time, as in another confirmation. It says, "We are far beyond statistical analysis at this stage, Q." That's kind of funny. It makes sense. So anyway, here's that same picture, the Twitter picture, and it says the quote-unquote real racist, and it gives these two YouTube videos, and fake news coverage, pure evil, hashtag wake up America. So what were we looking at here? These videos you guys probably remember of Hillary Clinton. I'm going to let you guys watch.
Kinds of kids that are called super predators. No conscience, no empathy. We can talk about why they ended up that way, but first we have to bring them to heel.
You called out.
So that was actually, you guys saw, that was Hillary Clinton saying that these criminals or kids were super predators and they need to be brought to heel. And then this is another gaffe of hers. You guys can go ahead and watch.
Around insulting people. I don't want to paint with a broad brush. Every immigrant is this, every African American is that, every other person with different religious beliefs or whatever. That's childish.
What do you think of Cory Booker's? And you didn't comment on him, and you feel free.
Oh, I adore him.
What do you think about him saying "kick them in the shins"? Essentially, start to get to that kind of political.
Well, that was Eric Holder.
Yeah, Eric Holder. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know they all look alike.
No, they don't.
Okay, so that was hilarious. I didn't find anything funny about that comment. It's not funny at all to make a racist remark like that. And then the whole crowd starts laughing. And it's like, oh, that makes sense, because that's the liberals' logic. It's like it's only racist if anybody but one of their own says it, right? So that's that. The next one says this video where they took samples, and it gives us timestamps to look at. So we're going to do that real quick.
Hillary believes that it's vital to deceive the people by having one public policy and a totally different policy in private. That's okay. I don't know who they're angry at, Hillary, you're right. For example, here she is tonight in public, pretending not to hate Catholics. Now, if some of you haven't noticed, Hillary isn't laughing as much as the rest of us. That's because she knows the jokes. And all of the jokes were given to her in advance of the dinner by Donna Brazil, which is, everyone knows, of course, Hillary's belief that it takes a village, which only makes sense, after all, in places like Haiti, where she's taken a number of them.
Do you see the look on that woman's face? That's a look of pure evil, just trying to hide it in this smug glance of disapproval. And yeah. And there's so much truth in this kind of comedy, especially at these roasts. So that's what Q wanted us to look at. Q says symbolism will be their downfall. And yeah, it basically gave us all of it right there. It says sometimes it takes a roast in order to be able to speak the truth and get away with it, right? So there you go. So next one is a tweet from George Papadopoulos, who is really one of the key figures in all of this. But he tweeted out today or yesterday saying Clapper has gone awfully silent since his month-long adventure in Australia, where he discussed how to cover up both his and Australia's involvement in spying on me and others. Remember his testimony to Congress, I never heard of Papadopoulos. His perjury is going to come back. And I know some people close to George, and yeah, this guy's totally telling the truth, and Q's telling him basically that it's rat bait to stay in the light. Q, right? And this is the actual original post that Q wants us to look at first. It says, normally intelligence passed on from a member of the Five Eyes Alliance, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the UK, and on the US, to another member comes through an official channel for intelligence sharing. However, Nunes, upon reviewing the document that formally launched the FBI's investigation, said there was no intelligence shared through that official channel, meaning that the intelligence was shared through unofficial means. Next one here says, read below slow and carefully. 5I. Why do former dignitaries still hold security clearance? US to US equals logged, flagged, recorded. US in New Zealand, no logs, no flags, no records, equals US security clearance authorized five eyes view plus document take. Now, this was important because this was referring to Hillary Clinton's trip to New Zealand, where she, I guess, met with the prime minister, and there was actually basically Q was insinuating that she was getting top secret classified high clearance information through her old security clearance that was still good for the Five Eyes. And now you have George Papadopoulos coming out and saying that James Clapper knew exactly who he was and perjured himself in front of Congress by saying that he didn't, when in fact these channels were open way before that investigation started, and all of this would be known. So that's something to consider. And then the next one here, it gives us this other post where it says, reread the Five Eyes. It says, avoid U.S. data collection laws. Hussein, public dossier FISA, not public. Five Eyes, UK, Australia, POTUS targeting using pushed Russia decoy meetings and campaign insertions. Hussein, HRC, Loretta Lynch, Brendan Clapper, National Security, White House Situation Room Operation, UK, Australia assist setup, Q. So this was all coordinated, and we've been told this by Q. This is what the allegation is that's here, that all of this was put together and orchestrated by the Hussein administration. That what we know with the Steele dossier and the FISA warrants is what's publicly known, but what's not public yet is how the Five Eyes was working with these people to create these Russia decoy meetings in order to have the excuse to go spy, and then to avoid our own privacy laws here in the United States by going to foreign intelligence agencies and having them do the digging. This is going to be the biggest scandal of our time, I believe. So, yeah. Now, the next one here is an older Q post from August of 2018, where it talked about this spy operation and explains in detail how they were all working and connected with one another. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but it basically talks about how the tarmac meeting was kind of the final meeting to get rid of the charges for Hillary Clinton, and how this whole Fusion GPS Steele dossier was orchestrated with the help of the Five Eyes and the Hussein administration, directing the FBI and the DOJ and the DNI in order to do what they had to do to get this, basically what they've called in their own text to one another, an insurance policy. And that's what this all is talking about, the setup of President Trump. And if you think this is some crazy conspiracy theory, I mean, there's only more and more facts coming out to prove that this is, in fact, what happened. But the facts still are really mostly circumstantial, so there's no hard proof. But at the same time, if you get enough circumstantial evidence, you have to at least say there should be an investigation. We should be looking more closely into this, right? That's what I think we're getting at here. And then Anon says, DECLAS coming. Q just points to that. So I guess that is coming. Another Anon says March Madness incoming. Q points to that. Then Q points to this Q proof, right, which is actually back in September, and the whole thing is about how President Trump, Q knew that the declassification was coming. And President Trump did order the declassification. If you guys read here, if I can get this, yeah. This was the actual official statement from the press secretary issued on September 17th, 2018. This was the Q post we had from September 15th, 2 days before, where Q says September 17th, week of, and it says declass coming, more incriminating text releases coming, dark delight, carp bombs, Moab. And it gave this CNN article about President Trump's FEMA presidential alert that he can send you a text, I should say. But yeah, so when you look over at the other one, it says, at the request of a number of committees of Congress and for reasons of transparency, the president has directed the Office of the Director of National Intelligence and the Department of Justice, including the FBI, to provide for the immediate declassification of the following materials. And it gives the list of materials. And now President Trump's still waiting on that. So Q just points to that proof. Now the next one here is an Anon posting, I think an older Q post, right? That says declassify FISA will initiate the resignation, recusal, and or removal of Rod Rosenstein. Declassify FISA will initiate the awareness that all signers will be currently under investigation. Declassification of FISA will factually demonstrate without argument the U.S. government under Hussein knowingly presented false evidence to FISA court in an effort to obtain legal U.S. intelligence umbrella surveillance of POTUS, identify target for the sole purpose of influencing the 2016 election of the presidency, not Russia, but Hussein HRC projection, plus safeguard against possible loss of power, firewalls, use of back channel surveillance, spy insertion, body 1, 2, and 5 by UK, Australia, primary, activated under Director Brennan, Director Clapper, with presidential daily briefing, regular updates, live streaming White House, Hussein non-oval situation room coordination, full FISA brings down the House, White House, Q. That's it, guys. I mean, look, everything that Q laid out here is exactly how it happened according to these allegations with this FISA abuse. That it was all basically signed off on by the Hussein administration. It was put into effect. They used the false evidence to present to a FISA court in an effort to obtain legal U.S. intelligence surveillance umbrella. And it was all to influence the 2016 election. And then the Anon says huge happenings coming, or happenings, and that's kind of like a phraseology used on the board. But Q just points to this. And of course, that's just one more thing to look at. Now, this is another one here where we have this was the picture. The post here is the picture of, and Anon puts the picture up of what presumably may be Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, and several others in London doing Operation Crossfire Hurricane, where they were setting up the actual Steele dossier, which was eventually used to basically frame the president and to get this FISA investigation started so they could have an endless investigation where they would eventually find some sort of malfeasance or crime that they could convict President Trump of, even if it's just, a minor tax issue or a business dealing that wasn't, every T wasn't crossed and every I wasn't dotted. But it says the physical landscape plus or minus proves it could not have been taken pre-2016. Operation Active pre-announcement, initial awareness pre-2016 Q. So I think what that's trying to say is, first of all, in the landscape, I think there's some landmarks that weren't there before 2016. So the picture is dated to 2016 or later. And the operation was put together before President Trump was actually in office, or running, I should say, and being selected as the candidate. This was of the first field, and there was a reason why Q's going to talk about this, why they pushed President Trump and thought they pushed him basically to the front of the line and said they wanted to run against him because they thought if he were to win, then they could take him down very easily, but that's proven not very true. So now they really have their hands full. And this is kind of what we're getting at here. Now, the next one says, an Anon basically asked the question, so it was known what was happening with the deep state, but this trip happened in 2016. And Q responds saying, POTUS formally announced his candidacy on June 16, 2015. Why did the HRC campaign actively work to push POTUS as the right candidate for the GOP? Why did HRC campaign publicly attack POTUS's opponents? Why did the HRC campaign want POTUS to be the nominee? Did the fake news play along? Think pre-nominee. What setup insurance file was created assuming POTUS would become the nominee? POTUS 1, Cruz 2. Was Cruz the target of a separate illegal spy campaign? Q. So this one's fascinating too, because the question is being posed here that this was all set up before President Trump became the actual nominee. So they were actually putting together this. They wanted President Trump to get in because they thought, oh, we're going to set him up with this Russia thing. According to Q, that's what these questions seem to be portraying. If that is, I'm just telling you what this is saying. And that not only that Ted Cruz was targeted as well. So there was there FISA warrants that were taken out on Ted Cruz that we need to find? Will that be exposed in the declassification? I mean, these are really good questions. And I think we're actually starting to get somewhere. But anyway, the next one is an older Q post that one of the Anons posted that Q's pointing to. It says, DECLAS will destroy their last stand, Schumer, Pelosi. FISA will be the start and prepare public for Huber. It says FISA equals start, FISA equals immediate confirmation of illegal acts regarding signers. FISA equals immediate confirmation start of Hussein's spy. Campaign to rig an election was based on false info. FISA equals implicates HRC Democratic Party's feeders of false info with the intent of securing the mainstream media and blast insurance. It says FISA equals implicates senior members of UK, MI5, 6, SIS, US intelligence, White House, Five Eyes, Republican Party, Congress, Senate of known corruption and effort to retain power and rig election, plus safeguard events by political kill to act while in power, given mainstream media fake push Russia war, or I think it said Russia war, or Russia narrative, excuse me. FISA equals ties mainstream media heads, TV behind corp to Democratic Party, other foreign heads to state in co-op strategy. FISA brings down the House, the White House, as they were saying. FOIA does not include FISA, so you can't use Freedom of Information Act to get this information. It says declassify POTUS key parts that factually demonstrate the dirty fake dossier was used as primary source to secure a high level of intel spying on primary Republican opponents, plus post-election intel assets from for domestic spying on the President of the United States for the office of the presidency of the United States of America, logical thinking, public awareness, FISA spying, foundation built Huber, no spelling errors intended, mobile unknown, if above Q. So this is like, first of all, the foundation built Huber is like the one that always stuck out to me when I read this. It was the Clinton Foundation. That's where Huber comes from. That's why Huber's doing what he's doing. Huber, with a team of like 400 and something investigators, are been working since November of 2017 on this investigation, multiple investigations into the Clinton Foundation, and all of this stuff that we've been talking about here for a long time. And I know people want results. I know people are getting impatient, but the fact is, these ongoing investigations have taken a long time to put together. And if President Trump pushed the declassification without letting the Department of Justice actually prepare and do what they had to do to get ready, you could potentially ruin the cases that they are building on all of these people by basically tainting the evidence. And that really is the biggest problem, I think, that people don't understand behind the scenes is going on. Now, the next one, Q talking about here, that one that we had for the this one was a misspelling, and I should have mentioned that when we looked at it, but it said physical landscape plus minus, it's the one we read, but it says correction could not have been taken post 2016, think 2015, long day Q. So what it's saying, and I actually probably said this wrong too earlier, is that the picture that we were talking about from this post right here that Q mentioned, where it's the picture of Peter Strzok, and presumably it's a surveillance camera tape of a road, but that it was, what Q's saying is that the picture couldn't have been taken after 2016 because there was some physical landscape that would prove, there was some part of the physical landscape, I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like a building or something that wasn't there before or wasn't there after the picture was taken, I guess you would say now. So it was back in 2015, which is incredible because that's like right after President Trump announced he was running. So don't forget that. I mean, if President Trump announced he was running in July of 2015, I think this could have happened in late 2015. And yeah, then that means that they were putting this operation together a long time ago. Anyway, this one is that same Q proof we read through where it talked about the September 15th Q post, and then on September 17th, President Trump said he was going to order the Department of Justice to declassify the information. It says, important to remember that POTUS already ordered the declassification per Q proof September 17th. He's awaiting the DOJ, IG, now BAR, plus Office of Inspector General to proceed with the order. Optics are important, delay by design, post order to declass, tactics, benefits, and then it has Rod Rosenstein and Bruce Orr basically in the brackets there, which means that they're going out quickly. And we've been hearing that for a long time, but eventually I'm thinking Rod Rosenstein's going to eventually get fired and Bruce Orr is going to get removed. So those were some of the key people in it. I mean, Rod Rosenstein signed off on extending the FISA warrant and also was one of the people who allowed Special Counsel Robert Mueller to keep going. So, and Bruce Orr was one of the guys funneling information from from Fusion GPS, where his wife was working, to the top leaders at the FBI and the DOJ. So, the next one here, and Anon says, Q was POTUS recruited later in campaign. According to this timeline, Donald Trump was a loose cannon. And Q says, think formation of the Freedom Caucus, think Freedom Caucus today, think Jim Jordan's, think Mark Meadows, I should say. And then it's got like 14 dots here, I think. And what this is referring to is, the Freedom Caucus was started back in January of 2015. So right before President Trump decided to run, we have the Freedom Caucus established. Now that's no coincidence. After they were a part of the pushing of John Boehner out of the House as the Speaker of the House, they seem to have, according to Q, found their candidate. So was this all by design? That's a good question. Was he recruited? That's another good question. There's definitely things to get. And the next one here is this Anon saying we understood, and this is back to this one with the correction. And Q says, Roger that, Anon. Mass distribution of messages creates the need to correct Q. And of course, the next one here is pretty incredible. The Anon says, check number 2657, and it says huge. And it says, now this was talking about Ted Cruz before, and this was a earlier Q post that we got. So this kind of lays it all out too, right? Think about this. It says, when will the public discover that Ted Cruz was also illegally surveilled pre-POTUS Republican nomination? It says CIA illegal surveillance members of Congress, CIA illegal surveillance members of the press, CIA illegal surveillance Senate Intel Committee, and then it's got these two links to these two different articles. This one we've looked at before, this post. It's a constitutional crisis, and it talks about how the CIA turned on the Senate and how they were uncovering that the CIA was actually hacking into the Senate's computers and spying on members of the Senate, and also this other article, which is the inquiry that followed, which affirmed that the CIA spied on the Senate panel that was investigating them, all for national security, of course, right? But it says, who ordered the surveillance? What justification was provided to authorize surveillance of elected officials? Surveillance fall under scope of FISA warrant or internal to department or outsourced to Five Eyes. Reality check, friend or foe. We all spy on each other. Should we be spying on ourselves? Should we be tasking others to spy on ourselves in order to avoid U.S. law? Was Five Eyes established, designed by the intel community as a back-channel surveillance apparatus to avoid domestic laws, triggers, and congressional Senate oversight? What key logs exist to monitor Five Eyes intel collection? What ability do former government officials have regarding ability to access classified level 5I offshore data? How did HRC gain access to the highest classified special access programs, closed system access, and able to transfer to remote home server? Question above should scare every single American. How did China locate primary CIA assets within China and 187? And that is the report that we looked at before about the 18 to 20 CIA assets who were killed in China back in 2013, I believe, right? That has been alleged to be connected to Hillary Clinton's emails that were hacked. It says money buys power, no punishment, Brennan by Hussein administration regarding surveillance of Senate, etc. And Q just points to that. And this one kind of lays it all out too with regard to what we've seen. This one is even more incredible because it just talks bluntly about what could have happened. And if any of this is true, it's disgusting and sick, and we need to get on top of it. But that's definitely where we're at with that. And then this last one here says, sheep no more, dark to light, we stand together. Now, this is obviously from somewhere in Europe. I'm not sure what language this is. But anyway, it says, we stand together, where we go when we go all Q. And yeah, this movement is much bigger than just what we're doing here. It's global, and it's a movement to expose corruption, to expose malfeasance, and to expose criminality of those involved at the highest levels of all of our cultures and societies at large. So that's all we're trying to do, right? We're trying to expose evil and crime and corruption. So with that, there's a few ways you can help out the channel. Obviously, the best way to do it is to come here and check out the Twitter site. You can come find me over here on Twitter at JustInformYou. It's a great way to do it, and you can help out the channel also by coming over here to Patreon, which is a crowdfunding website. And like I talked about in the beginning of the video, I depend on you guys to help fund this channel, and I'm so thankful to everyone who comes here and does it. It's a monthly donation. It's patreon.com/justinformedtalk. There'll be a link in the description. You come here, you click this button to become a patron. It's a monthly donation. You set it and forget it, and know you're helping continue the creation of content on this channel, even in the face of YouTube demonetization and delisting and their algorithms that are meant to target this content and try to silence us. But with your help, we'll stay doing this as long as is humanly possible. And also, I have a GoFundMe if you guys want to contribute a one-time donation. I have both these, so I appreciate your help, and I really, really look forward to keeping this channel going. I mean, that's really what it's all about. So I depend on you guys for that, and I appreciate your help with it. And before we go, like I'm talking about here, with all of this demonetization, with the way that we're targeted, with the way that the algorithms are working basically against this content, to where, my average views now, I've been just tanked ever since they kicked in this new algorithm that's supposed to not suggest videos of Q and to put me into like these different categories. It's like they've basically gutted my channel's ability to get traffic. So I depend on you guys to share these links and get the info out there. But ultimately, the only thing I can do is what Google has chosen not to do, which is do no evil. And that's what I'm going to talk about for our segment here, God's grace is greater, because I have a little verse about it. And I just want to share this with you guys, because this is the way I fight evil, is by looking to God and understanding what he wants me to do through the scripture and through the teachings of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and the many different great disciples and apostles and prophets. So I want to read this to you. It's out of 1 Peter chapter 3, verses 8 through 12, and it says, do no evil. That's the title of it. It says, now finally, all of you should be like-minded and sympathetic, should love believers, and be compassionate and humble, not paying back evil for evil or insult for insult, but on the contrary, giving a blessing, since you were called for this, so that you can inherit a blessing. For the one who wants to love life and to see good days must keep his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit, and he must turn away from evil and do good. He must seek peace and pursue it, because the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are open to their request. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil. And that's my solace. My solace is in the Lord. I take solace in my Savior, and I take solace in knowing that no matter what they do to this channel, no matter what they do to all these channels, no matter what they do to our movements and our belief systems and our Christian values that we want to put out in the world, and the things that we do, it doesn't matter. I said this before. I don't want to leave a legacy other than Jesus. I want everyone to know Jesus' name. That's it. Now, I tell the truth as I know it. I do want to expose corruption and evil, and I love my country, I love my family, I love God, and not in that order. I love God first, family, then country. But, I just have to remind myself that these words are what we're meant to live by. Because like it says here, the one who wants to love life and to see good days must keep his tongue from evil and his lips from speaking deceit, and must turn away from evil and do good. You must seek peace. We must seek peace and pursue it, because the eyes of the Lord are on the righteous and his ears are open to their requests. But the face of the Lord is against those who do evil. So my life's work is to do good, to be God's most humble servant. And I pray for that every day for myself and for everyone out there. I want you guys to remember that humility, being humble, knowing that we don't know everything, and turning our lives over to God is really what will save us. So that's where I'm going to leave it. I'll say thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you like the content. Make sure you hit the bell. Make sure you hit the like button if you guys like what you just saw. Also, don't forget, I want to say thank you. Check out these videos. Share them on your social media. That helps out too. So I'm going to say thank you for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.